In this video, we'll walk through creating a report in TechConnect. Our first report will be my incidents in the last 90 days. It'll be a text table. It looks a little bit like this. Remember that incidents is just another word for tickets, and that your report is not limited to incidents or text tables. It can be on any table in TechConnect that you have access to. It can be any kind of visualization, such as a pie chart or a bar chart. Once we have our text table, we'll edit the report contents to be my incidents in the last 90 days and my coworker Brian's incidents in the last 30 days. Once we have this, we'll group the results in our report by the action taken. Finally, we will see how to share our new report. So let's get started. First, we have to get to the reports section. In TechConnect, you'll go to the All menu, which is either pinned to the left-hand side or drop down in the top left of the screen. And in the filter at the top of this All menu, we will look for Reports. The Reports section pops up, and we're going to click on View Run. View Run is sort of your homepage for everything involving reports. Now, in the top right, click Create a Report. Note that if your screen doesn't look like this, be sure you're in the new user interface. You can toggle between the new and classic UI in the top right corner. On the left-hand side of the screen, we'll start configuring the report. And on the right side of the screen, TechConnect will show us a preview of the report that we're building. First, we'll give our report a name. We'll call this My Incidents in the Last 90 Days. And as we go, TechConnect updates the right side of the screen. Source type is where TechConnect is pulling the information from. You'll almost always leave source type as table, since you'll likely be building reports from tables in TechConnect. Since we've chosen table, we're given a list of all of the tables that you have access to, and you can build reports on anything here. The search at the top of the table list is very helpful. We'll search for incident, since we want to report on our incident. Then we'll click Next at the bottom of the screen. Here, TechConnect asks us what type of report we want, a bar chart, a pie chart, or a number of other visualizations. The default is a list, which is just a basic text table. You can change the report type at any point in the future. So right now, we'll click Next to stick with a list. Connect again gives us a preview of our report on the right, pre-populated with default popular columns. You can then click Choose Columns to change what columns you want in your report. Available columns are on the left, and columns currently in your report are on the right. I'll add the column assigned to my report by choosing it in the left column and clicking the arrow to move it to the right column. I'll remove the columns Opened By and Comments and Worked Notes by selecting them and using the arrow to move them to the left column. If I want to rearrange the columns in my report, then in the right side I can choose a column and click the up and down arrows to rearrange the order the columns appear in the report. When you're happy, you can click OK to save your changes. Then I'll click Next. You can always click back to a previous option page, so don't worry if you change your mind about anything later. Here, we aren't going to click Share yet. We're going to continue configuring the report first. Right now, our report is just looking at the incidents table. But what I want is for my report to be incidents that are only assigned to me that were created in the last 90 days. To do this, I need to add conditions. Top right above the report, I'll click Edit Condition. A box will appear showing potential filters with a drop-down of all the fields TechConnect has regarding the incidents table. In the drop-down, I'll choose Assigned To, Leave Is, and then enter my name and select myself from the drop-down. Importantly, you have to use the drop-down here. You can't just type anything in, use the drop-down. It's very helpful as you add conditions to check what your report is going to show by saying your conditions as sentences out loud. Currently, my report looks in the incidents table and only shows incidents where assigned to is Susie Raimondo. As you change the options for your report, click Run in the top right. Clicking Run will update the table to your current settings. Here, our updated columns will be shown, and the table will update to only show incidents assigned to me. The incidents table is very large. It has all the incidents assigned to everyone since the start of TechConnect. When you're building reports, don't click Run until you've added at least one condition. So now we have a report showing all incidents assigned to me. Now let's add that they have to have been opened in the last 90 days. I need a second filter. To the right of the filter that I have, which is my assigned to Susie Raimondi filter, I'm going to click And. A new filter line appears. As a helpful reminder, the word And appears on the left in blue, connecting the filters, to remind you that only incidents that meet both conditions assigned to me and the next condition will be shown. You can add as many conditions as you like. To remove a condition, you'll click the minus sign to the right of that condition. Since I want incidents opened within the last 90 days, in the field dropdown, I'm going to choose Opened. I don't want to pick on a particular date, so instead, I'll change the middle dropdown to After. In the last dropdown, I can pick an exact date. Because I want the last 90 days, I'll expand the days dropdown. Last 90 days is one of the options, so I'll click that. Then I'll say this as a sentence. Currently, my report looks in the incidents table and only shows incidents where assigned to is Susie Raimondi and the incident was open at the last 90 days. Perfect. So I'll click Run in the top right to update the report. And again, don't click Run before setting at least one condition. And now you have a basic report in TechConnect. It's a good idea to save often, as it's very easy to accidentally navigate away from your report and lose your progress. When you're creating your report, you can always use the back button in the bottom left panel to change any settings you've already configured. For example, if I would like a bar chart or a pie chart instead of a text table, I can use the back button in the bottom left panel to navigate to the type screen and click bar chart in the top of the left panel. The report won't update until I click Run in the top right. Another popular chart is a pie chart. To see my report as a pie chart, I'll click Pie Chart in the left panel, then click Run in the top right to update the report. Because I want my text table, I'm going to scroll down in the left panel and select List. Then I'll click Run again in the top right. Then I'll click Next twice to get back to the screen I was on. Now that we have a basic report, let's keep going. What if I wanted incidents in the last 90 days that are assigned to me or assigned to my coworker, Brian? Right now, my two conditions are and conditions. Both need to be met. I want to add an or condition where the assigned to can be either Brian or I. To do this, to the right of the existing conditions, where before I clicked and, I'm going to click or. The new condition section appears with an orange or connecting them. I'm going to configure my conditions, again, so that they create a logical sentence, paying close attention to where any and or keywords are in this conditions box. Now, my report conditions are that the incident must have been open in the last 90 days, and either the incident is assigned to Brian or the incident is assigned to Susie. Be sure to pause this video if you need to look at this more closely to understand it. Clicking Run in the top right, my report updates. Looking through it, I can see that all incidents have been open in the last 90 days, but that the assigned to field is either me or Brian. What if you have two completely different sets of criteria? For example, if I want incidents open in the last 90 days that are assigned to me, and separately, incidents open in the last 30 days assigned to Brian. To do this, I could configure this using the and or functionality we just went through. However, because these are completely different, it's usually easier to just configure separate criteria. I will delete the condition for Brian and then use the New Criteria button underneath the listed conditions. This creates a new section of conditions with an or clause between the top section and the bottom section. Criteria from either section must be met. Using the dropdowns, I'll configure the bottom section that this criteria is that tickets should be opened in the last 30 days, and that the ticket must be assigned to Brian. Remember, always pay close attention to where there's an and, where there's an or, and speak your whole condition box in a sentence out loud. When I click Run, my report updates. You can create as many of these criteria sections as you'd like. Your conditions can be as complicated as you'd like. Currently, the default order that incidents appear in my list are by when they were created, from most recent to least recent. If I want to change this, perhaps I'd like to instead sort this by the state of the ticket, we'll click Add Sort right above the conditions. The first dropdown is which field we would like to sort by. I'll choose the incident state, alphabetically A to Z. Then I'll click Save and run the report to update the table. As a tip, your sort field does not need to be a field shown as a column in your table. If I instead wanted to sort by resolve time, which is not in my table, I can click Add Sort again and then choose resolve time from the dropdown. Then I'll click Run to update the report. So at this point, our report is a list showing incidents that were either opened in the last 90 days that are assigned to me, or incidents open in the last 30 days assigned to Brian. And we've sorted the report. But this list of incidents is very long. Something that we might like to do is to show this list of incidents in groups instead, so that someone looking at the report can more easily jump to the sections they're interested in. For example, we could group this list of incidents by the action that was taken on them. Setting grouping up is in the Configure panel, which we can use the back button in the bottom left to get to. Underneath, where you choose what columns you'd like to see in your report, you can choose Group By. Here, we'll change Group By from None to Action. We'll click Run in the top right to preview the new report. My list is now grouped, which appears as accordions that you can open and close to see the list just for that group. My report's done. What do I do with it? First, I'll save it by clicking Save in the top right, and TechConnect shows me a brief message letting me know that it's saved. After it's saved, in the bottom left, we'll click Share. You might need to click Next a few times to get to this if this isn't the panel you're already on. After clicking Share, a panel for sharing options opens on the right side. Let's go down it in order. At the top, there's another share option only applicable if you're planning to share the report on the TechConnect website. This determines whom can find and see the report. By default, it's you. It's your report. If you've made this report just for you to refer to, you don't need to change anything here. But if you'd like to make the report more available, you can add groups or specific users to be able to see the report. You can search for any user or assignment group in TechConnect. Since my report is a list of tickets for both Brian and I want Brian to be able to see it. I'll search for Brian and choose him from the dropdown. But since we're just practicing, I'll set this back to just me and click OK. Next, going down the left panel is Schedule. You'll choose Schedule if you want this report to be emailed on a regular basis. The report is emailed as an attachment, so the recipients don't need to log into TechConnect. At the bottom of the email setup screen, you can choose what type of file you want the attachment to be, such as a PDF or a CSV. Because Excel has file size limits, in most cases, CSV is the recommended output. Reports that are scheduled to be emailed on a regular basis are always updated before they're sent. If I schedule a report of my incidents to be emailed on Fridays, every Friday the report will automatically be rerun to add any new incidents. Once you've filled in the email, you'll click Submit to start the scheduled email. Since this is practice, I'll instead click the X in the top right to close the email without saving. Next, going down the list is Add to Dashboard. If you haven't used dashboards, there's screens in TechConnect that show different information in separate panels, such as tickets assigned to you next to popular knowledge base articles. When adding a report to a dashboard, you'll select that dashboard from the drop-down and choose where on the dashboard the report will be shown. If you're adding a report to a dashboard, make sure you set the sharing settings appropriately. For example, if you're adding this to a dashboard for ESS, don't forget to give ESS access to view the report. If you just want the report right now, you can click Export to PDF. As this button implies, this will give you the option to either download the report immediately as a PDF or to send the PDF as a one-time email. So that's a PDF, but what if you want the report right now as a CSV file? If you want to export the report as a CSV file, it's actually not here in this Share panel. Instead, we'll close the Share panel, go to the table itself, and right-click on any header column. I'll right-click on the incident number header. From here, you can choose Export and the export type, our CSV file. The report starts generating immediately. Reopen the Share panel by clicking Share in the bottom left. The last option is Publish. This creates a public link to the report. Anyone with the link can view the report even if they're outside of Tufts. So clicking Publish is not recommended. And you're done. You now have a report in TechConnect that shows incidents based on conditions, which we grouped by actions taken, we sorted, and we saw how to share. Make sure always that you hit save. To view your new report, we'll go back to the main report list by clicking the back button in the top left or clicking View Run in the All panel, then navigate to the My Reports filter at the top of the screen.